Let me ask you something and be honest. When you see someone for the first time, what do you notice first? Is it their face, their body, their clothes? Or is it something deeper, something you cannot explain? Because we live in a world where people talk a lot about attraction. Social media, movies, influencers, they all show us what is attractive. But is that real? Or is that just an image? Today, we are going to go deeper, not just opinions, but psychology, real human behavior, real experiences. Because attraction is not just about what you see, it is about what you feel. And to understand this better, I'm here with a very special guest, a psychologist with many years of experience working with people, relationships, and human behavior. He has seen how attraction works in real life, not just on social media. Welcome, Doctor. Thank you. And I really like how you started this conversation because attraction is one of the most misunderstood topics. Many people think attraction is simple, but it is actually very complex. It is a combination of physical appearance, personality, emotional connection, experiences, and even timing. And that's interesting because most people think attraction is just about looks. Yes, and that is the first big mistake. Physical appearance is important, of course. It creates the first impression. But attraction does not stay only at that level. If there is nothing deeper, the attraction disappears quickly. Let me explain it in a simple way. Physical attraction opens the door, but personality decides if you stay. Wow, that is a powerful idea. Yes, and I have seen this many times in my patients. People start relationships because of physical attraction, but they end them because of personality problems, lack of communication, lack of respect, lack of emotional connection. So let's break it down. Let's start with the first thing people usually think about: physical appearance. How important is it really? Physical appearance is important, but not in the way people think. It is not about being perfect, it is about how you present yourself. For example, two people can have similar physical features, but one looks attractive because they take care of themselves. Clean clothes, good posture, basic hygiene, a simple but confident style. Attraction is not about perfection, it is about effort. That makes sense. Because sometimes you see someone who is not perfect, but is still very attractive. Exactly. Because attractiveness is not only about your face, it is about your energy, your attitude, and how comfortable you feel with yourself. Let me give you a real example. I had a patient who believed he was not attractive at all. He avoided social situations. He felt insecure. But when we worked together, we didn't change his face. He changed his habits. He improved his posture, his communication, his way of speaking. After some months, people started reacting differently to him. So the change was not physical, but internal. Exactly. And that internal change became visible. Now, let's talk about personality, because many people say personality is everything. Do you agree with that? I could say personality is extremely important, but it is not everything alone. It works together with other factors. However, personality has a big impact in long term attraction. For example, confidence is very attractive. Not arrogance, but confidence. The ability to be yourself without fear. Kindness is also very attractive. People feel safe with kind individuals. And emotional intelligence. The ability to understand others, to listen, to communicate. This creates deep attraction. That's interesting because those things are not always visible at the beginning. Yes, and that is why attraction can grow over time. Sometimes you are not very interested in someone at the beginning, but as you get to know them, they become more attractive. I think many people have experienced that. Yes, because attraction is dynamic, it changes. Now, I want to talk about something people don't always mention: experiences. Your life experiences also make you attractive. The way you talk about your life, your challenges, your goals, all of that creates interest. For example, someone who has goals, who is working on themselves, who has a direction in life, that is attractive. So it's not just who you are, but also where you are going. Exactly. Direction creates attraction. Okay, now let's talk about a sensitive topic: money. People believe that money makes a person more attractive. What do you think? This is a very interesting topic and also very controversial. Money itself is not attractive, but what money represents can be attractive. For example, stability, security, opportunities. These things can create attraction, especially in long term relationships. But there is a problem. If attraction is only based on money, it is very fragile. So it's not the money, it's the meaning behind it. Exactly. And also, different people value different things. For some, emotional connection is more important. For others, stability is important. Okay, let me share something personal. I remember a time when I thought that being attractive was only about how I looked. I focused a lot on my appearance, but I didn't feel confident. And even when I tried to talk to people, it didn't work very well. That is very common because if you don't feel good inside, it shows outside. Yes, and I realized that later when I started working on my confidence, my communication, things started to change. Exactly. Because attraction is not something you put on, it is something you build. This is becoming very interesting because we are breaking many ideas people have. Yes, and we are just starting because we still need to talk about mistakes. Things people do that actually reduce their attractiveness, and also practical ways to become more attractive in real life. Yes, and I think that's what people really want to know. Exactly. Because understanding is good, but application is better. Fantastic. We talked about physical appearance, personality, experiences, and even money, and how all these things can influence attraction. But now I want to go deeper into something very practical. Because many people are probably thinking right now, okay, I understand all this, but what am I doing wrong? So let me ask you directly, what are the most common mistakes people make that actually make them less attractive? That is a very important question because sometimes it is not about what you need to add, but what you need to remove. One of the most common mistakes is trying too hard to impress. When people try too much, they lose authenticity. They change their personality. They say things that are not real. They try to look perfect. And the problem is, humans can feel that. Even if they don't say it, they feel something is not natural. Attraction needs authenticity. If you are not real, the connection becomes weak. That's interesting because many people think they need to act differently to be liked. Yes, but acting creates pressure, and pressure creates tension, and tension is not attractive. Now, another big mistake is insecurity, but not just feeling insecure, because that is normal. The problem is when insecurity controls your behavior. For example, when someone constantly needs validation, when they always ask, do you like me? Or am I good enough? This creates emotional weight. Confidence is attractive, but not because it is perfect. It is attractive because it feels stable. So it's okay to feel insecure, but not to let it control you. Exactly. You can feel insecure, but still act with calm and self respect. Now, let me mention another mistake that many people don't realize: lack of presence. When you are with someone, but your mind is somewhere else, you are on your phone, you are distracted, you are not really listening. This is very common today, and it destroys connection. Attraction grows when people feel seen, heard, and understood. That's very real, especially now with social media. Yes, and that is why simple things like eye contact, active listening, and genuine interest are very powerful. Now, I want to talk about something deeper: emotional availability. Many people want connection, but they are not emotionally open. They are afraid to express feelings, afraid to be vulnerable, and that creates distance. Being attractive is not just about looking strong, it is also about being human. That's powerful because vulnerability is often seen as weakness. Yes, but vulnerability is a strength. It shows honesty, it shows trust. Now, let's move into something very practical. How can someone become more attractive in real life? First, work on your communication. Learn to express your thoughts clearly. Speak with intention. Ask questions. Listen actively. Second, take care of your habits. Sleep well, eat well, move your body. This affects your energy, and energy is part of attraction. Third, build a life. This is very important. Have goals, have interests, do things that give you meaning, because a person with direction is naturally more attractive than a person who feels lost. That makes sense because people are attracted to purpose. Exactly. Purpose creates energy. Now, let me share a real story from one of my patients. She believed she was not attractive. She compared herself constantly with others. She felt invisible. But when we worked together, we didn't focus on her appearance. We focused on her life. She started learning new things, developing skills, meeting new people, exploring her interests. And something interesting happened. Her energy changed. Her conversations changed. Her confidence changed. And people started to notice her. Not because she changed her face, but because she changed her life. That's very inspiring because it shows that attraction is something you can build. Yes, exactly. It is not fixed, it is dynamic. Now, let's talk about something people often debate. Is it possible to be attractive to everyone? The answer is no. And this is very important to understand. You are not for everyone, and that is okay. Okay, that's a strong idea because many people try to be liked by everyone. Yes, but that creates frustration because attraction is subjective. What one person finds attractive, another person may not. So instead of trying to be perfect for everyone, focus on being real for the right people. That changes the perspective completely. Yes, because now you are not chasing approval, you are building connection. Now, I want to talk about something very modern: social media. Social media has created a strong idea of attraction, but often it is unrealistic. Filters, perfect images, edited lives, all of this creates pressure. And many people start comparing their real life with someone else's edited life. This creates insecurity and false expectations. Yes, that happens a lot. That is why it is important to remember real attraction happens in real life, in conversations, in emotions, in shared moments, not in perfect photos. That's very important to hear. Now, before we finish, I want to leave a final reflection. Something simple but powerful. Attraction is not about becoming someone else, It is about becoming the best version of yourself and being comfortable with that. Because when you are comfortable with who you are, people feel it. And that feeling is attractive. That's a perfect message. And if you're listening right now, I want you to think about this. Are you trying to be attractive for everyone? Or are you building a life that naturally makes you attractive? Let me know in the comments.